Really, the goal is just to use our stories to bring veterinary medicine to life for the pet caretakers of the world. And we're doing it because we believe that educating these caretakers is the most powerful thing that we can do to improve the life quality of all of the pets that we love. Hello, everybody. Dr. Natalie Keith.
Dr. Josiah Dame.
And this is Vet Tales.
Woo.
And we are doing Heartworms. This is April Heartworm Prevention Awareness Month, or Heartworm Awareness Month, I should say. And so we are going to be talking about it. We've done this before on our podcast, but it's been probably over a year ago. Dr. Goodall helps me with that episode. And so it's just like a refresher. It may be some duplicate information if you listen to that old one. We all need
refreshers.
Oh, man. Yeah, don't we, though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So where do you want to start?
Well, probably how dogs get heartworms.
Yeah.
Because the first question when I diagnose a heartworm dog is, I have 4 more dogs at home. What do I do?
Is this contagious? How do they get it?
How do they get it?
Yeah.
XYZ.
Right. So they're not technically like contagious directly.
Mm-hmm.
They are spread through mosquito bites.
Yep.
But if you live in close proximity to a dog that has heartworms or other wildlife like a coyote or something like that, then you're far more likely to get exposed to a mosquito that has facilitated the life cycle of the heartworm.
Yeah.
And then get it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll start with the bite. So you have the mosquito on the scene. And if your dog is an indoor only dog, there's mosquitoes in the household. Like they do break in. There's not a magical barrier at the door.
Certain species they prefer to live inside.
Mm-hmm.
Also, dogs go out to pee.
Yes. There is risk of exposure.
Yes. I don't think statistically speaking, there's a significant increase in risk for outside dogs versus inside dogs. Mm-hmm. So, and then we will talk about cats too. I mean, this is a cat disease as well.
For sure.
They get it the same way, mosquito bites, indoor cats as well as outdoor cats.
So a mosquito comes to get a blood meal from the dog, and it doesn't inject the baby heartworm, which is a microfilaria. It actually falls out of its mouth and then climbs into the hole that was created by the mouth of it. And that's all memory, I'm pretty sure. So, but that's slightly wrong. Sorry, but just a little sci-fi for you. And then it goes through a life cycle in the dog. So it goes from a couple stages in the dog until it becomes an adult, which takes up to 6 months.
Yeah.
And then you have
sometimes up to 7 sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just squirming around looking for where it's going to set up shop.
Yeah.
Which heartworms live in the
heart. Well, technically the pulmonary vein.
Yes.
So, which is where the heart meets the lung.
Yes. So it kind of they live in the pulmonary vein, but they're so long that they're kind of flopping.
Dangling out in there.
And just imagine.
Well, especially if it gets crowded.
Yeah. Imagine angel hair pasta. That's kind of what it's terrible. Don't Google. Well, you can Google heartworms. Dog heart.
Google, I mean, they do. They look like long, skinny worms. They look like
long, skinny worms, and they're bundled.
They wrap around each other. They're like this whole mess.
If it gets bad enough, you can actually see it on ultrasound.
Yeah.
When you look at the heart, and they literally
they wave around in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they can cause occlusion of blood flow, which is where we get heart disease.
Yeah.
In these patients.
Cable syndrome is what we call it. So you can get a couple things. You can get right-sided heart failure. You can get what looks like bloody urine, but really the body is breaking down the red blood cells because of all of the movement going on within the pulmonary valve. One
of my first cases I diagnosed was a boxer named Cassius. And he had the apparent bloody urine, and he was threatening cable syndrome.
But respiratory signs, so many things.
Well, if you're a cat, which I feel like we talked about this sometime. But anyway, the cats, basically, they will get heartworm-associated respiratory disease or HARD, where they get an asthma-like symptoms. And sometimes they have no symptoms. They just die. They just throw a blood clot and die.
Yeah, it's really scary. And that's because they're not the true host.
Yeah.
So the heartworm freaks out and just starts to move around everywhere where it shouldn't be.
Right. Well, and the other thing that happens in cats is that, so the heartworm is designed to live inside the heart of a dog or canine, so a coyote or wolf or what have you. And they are protected. If you're old enough, bear with me. Independence Day.
So good.
The space shuttles, they had
Yes.
the little protective capsules on them. So heartworms are like that, but I'm serious. And so whenever they get into a heart of a cat or in the bloodstream of a cat, a body of a cat, the cat's immune system can see right through that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And immune system is just attacking it, and it creates massive inflammation, almost like anaphylaxis, really.
Yeah.
And the same thing can happen in dogs when we treat. Okay, so everybody remembers Jeff Goldblum, my favorite actor. Just fun fact about Natalie. He says, we need to give it a cold. If you haven't seen this movie, please go watch it. It's going to make sense to you in a minute. So they give the spaceships the cold, the virus, right? And then all of a sudden the bullets can penetrate. So when we kill the heartworm, all of a sudden the immune system in the dog is like, oh my gosh, what is this thing? And it attacks it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this massive inflammatory response again, which is why when we treat these dogs, I'm jumping a little ahead, we have to be super, super cautious. And why we have to be cautious even for heartworm prevention, certain heartworm preventions can incite the same issue. And so you have to be very careful in a heartworm positive dog about how you get rid of them.
Yep.
So that you don't cause the same problem that cats get where they just die.
Yeah. And when you were talking about Independence Day, I was thinking about, the dad who flew his spaceship straight into it. That's the cat's immune system.
Yeah. It's just going down with the ship. That's it.
We're done.
That's it.
Yeah. But with the cats too, there's no treatment for cats.
No.
So if we do diagnose hard, then it's just managing clinical signs.
Yeah, the inflammation in the lungs. And then you hope that the worm will eventually die of old age or the immune system finally kills it. Yeah. And a lot of cats will test negative even if they're positive. Now we're getting into testing. Do you want to talk about lifestyle more, or are we just going to go straight to testing? What do you want to do?
I feel like that's the life cycle that we need.
Yeah, the thing is, this is the most critical piece of information. It's the 6 months from the time that they're bit by an infected mosquito to the time that they will test positive is 6 months. So you can get a negative test, start your dog on heartworm prevention that day, and then the next year when you come in for your wellness, we're like, it's positive. And you're like, the prevention didn't work.
Yep.
It did work. Your dog didn't get any more heartworms, but it already had some that hadn't matured yet. So until it's an adult heartworm, female in the heart, secreting antigen, we can't detect it.
Mm-hmm. Adult female.
That takes time.
Yep, it takes time.
Yep. And then the cats, because they often will only have one worm, it might be a boy, it might not even be a girl, or may not ever get to fully mature and be healthy enough to start secreting that reproductive antigen, then you may get a negative test on a cat with an antigen test, and it actually is positive, which is super fun.
Yeah, which is why in cats we check for the antibody.
Mm-hmm. And we do heat fixing.
Those types of things. And then in dogs, we're looking for the antigen, and that's the specialized testing. So testing. We do yearly heartworm testing on dogs, and depending on the cat's lifestyle, yearly or every so often.
Yeah.
So on dogs, it's going to be that when we're like, you need more heartworm prevention, come on in, let's do our wellness, let's do the heartworm test, and then we'll get you another year. Why do we do that? It's not just random. It's because if you have been a diligent, Pro Heart person or a diligent NextStart Plus person, and your test comes up positive, because nothing is ever 100% in life, you have kind of like we have a backup plan when it comes to, okay, we've had breakthrough potentially with this product.
It's a manufacturer guarantee.
Yeah. And so we would call the company and say, hey, this happened. And they would go, hey, we need that data. Like, we need to know what was the last test, what product did you use, how much did you use, blah, 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 blah. And then typically there's some compensation.
Yeah. I've seen them pay for entire treatments when you've done your due diligence. Plus, we do the heartworm tests because it has other tick-borne diseases on them, the one that we do in-house, which is important because that's ridiculously common.
Yep.
Ehrlichia is like 20% of dogs.
Ehrlichia, it checks for Ehrlichia, anaplasmosis, and Lyme.
Which we don't have.
We don't. But every time it pops positive, I immediately start to sweat.
Yeah. Until we get the black-footed deer mouse.
Yeah.
We're okay.
I immediately go, please tell me they've been to Connecticut. And most of them have been to Connecticut. I'm like, we don't want Lyme here.
No, we don't. It's one more problem. We have enough parasites. We don't need more in Oklahoma.
Listen, my family's from New York, as y'all know. I'm sure I've said that. But every time I hike there, I'm like, Don't get Lyme. Don't
get Lyme.
Don't
Take those
get
ticks.
Lyme.
That's right.
So scary.
Okay, so anyway, so we test and we find out the dog is positive. Now we have to treat.
Mm-hmm.
Treatment is, like we were talking about, is going to create a massive inflammatory response. So we start with pre-treating them before we begin like the actual adulticide. We, number one, start them on a prevention, because the last thing you need when you have heartworms is more heartworms.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anybody who's likely to get more heartworms, it's a dog with heartworms already,
Mm-hmm.
because the mosquito goes zoop again 3 days later,
Mm-hmm.
and boom, more heartworms. And so then, and certainly treating a dog with 20 heartworms is harder than treating one with 3. So then we diagnose the heartworm. We start by pre-medicating with the heartworm prevention, doxycycline, which is an antibiotic.
Mm-hmm.
It weakens the worm by killing their Wolbachia, which is also from Star Wars. No?
Chewbacca.
I know, but don't you think of it? Like Ewok plus Chewbacca equals Wolbachia.
That's so true.
Yeah. So anyway, so we treat the Wolbachia bacteria, and that makes the worm weaker, sort of like taking out our intestinal flora makes us weaker.
I think it also makes it to where they don't react as much to the dying worm.
Right. So when the worm opens up and dies and all the bacteria are released, it's far less of them for the body to have to deal with. And then we put them on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
To help prevent the inflammatory response as well. And we do steroids a day of treatment, and then for 30 days after. And then exercise restriction is really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's all these dead bits of worm in your dog's pulmonary vein just pumping around, right?
Yeah.
That's not good. Yeah. So the dog staying calm and not like chasing voles or squirrels or whatever decreases the amount pumping around of the worm bits and inflammation.
Embolisms, anaphylaxis, those are the things we're worried about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
they don't happen as much as they used to. We've learned a lot about how to minimize damage.
Yeah, we follow the American Heartworm Society Association.
Yeah, the American Heartworm Society. Yeah.
Their protocol is what we follow.
Yeah. And they have some really cool stats on their website. You know, if you ever want to check it out yourself, that you can actually read the protocol yourself. You don't have to be a DVM to know we're following it. You can read it yourself. Unfortunately, they really don't have any like new stats, like the newest ones, like 21, 22. But what we do know is on trend that in spite of ever-growing prevalence of clients doing heartworm prevention, the number of heartworms are still outreaching that. The number is going up and up as far as new diagnosis per year. Some of that's because, you know, the climate's warm. We've got lots of mosquitoes. There's a lot of dog movement. One of the big things was right after Hurricane Katrina. They took all the dogs from the swamplands, which was warm and mosquito ridden. Mm-hmm. And they got rehomed, and they had heartworms, and now there were heartworms and that became endemic in other areas that hadn't really seen it before. So if the mosquito continues to survive there, then the heartworms will as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all across the country, definitely more where it's warmer climates.
Yeah, warmer climates. And then I think the rule of thumb is like 80-80 or 14-80-80. So it has to, once the mosquito comes and eats the blood meal from the dog and pulls up the baby heartworms from the dog's blood, it has to be like 14 days of 80 degrees and 80% humidity for it to then get to the next stage that then it will deposit into the dog.
Mm-hmm. It takes a while. I did not realize.
So it's shocking that it even like happens.
But it does. Like so many.
Oh, very often.
We treat them all the time. We have heartworm treatment day here at Northside, where all the dogs come in at once, because when we have to mix the drugs, they're only good for 24, 48 hours, something like that. Yep. Yeah. And so we bring everybody in on the same time so that nobody's wasting any medication. The medication's hard to make. It's much safer. We used to have to use literally arsenic. If you go back into the 80s, 90s, maybe when did they come out with melarcimine? Like, I feel like it was relatively new when I started teching in 2000.
It's crazy.
10 years before that was when they had like, what were they called? Dirobits?
Diroban.
No. What?
Oh, we still use that.
No.
That's melarcimine.
That's melarcimine. It was like difilbits, something. I can't remember exactly, but you had to put daily heartworm prevention on your dog's food.
Oh, that's scary.
I know.
Like as a prevention.
Yes, as a prevention.
Prevention's gotten a lot easier.
Orbits?
Filaribits.
Anyway, somebody that's old enough maybe would remember, but I recall. And I was out in the country, so like, I don't know. And then HeartGuard was all the rage.
Yep.
What do you mean once a month? That's all? It's great news.
And then the resistance that
followed. Junkyard dog strains. So yeah, there's certainly been a lot of ups and downs in our heartworm treatment protocols. But all this to be said is hard and it's complicated, but we do it here all the time and successfully. And we treat many dogs each month, anywhere from 2 to 15 every month, all year round. So we're definitely very sensitive to it. And we definitely emphasize the importance of prevention.
Yeah.
So I think that's really what I want to focus most on today is the prevention side of things. Let's talk about options for clients, talk about compliance opportunities and the importance of staying compliant and so on, because that's the key in this whole picture is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah.
Or in this case, treating your dog is roughly the same cost as 7 years of prevention.
Yep. For real. Treatment, I think the most recent one I did was a little over $1,000.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the dog.
Yeah.
Because it depends on how much molluscimine they need. But yeah, I mean, and that's here in Oklahoma, central Oklahoma. If you get into Dallas, I can't imagine.
It's pretty expensive there. Yeah. So how prevention kind of works, the pill prevention, it's kind of like you spike your dog with the dewormer.
Yeah.
So they're going along, they have no product in their body. And then on day 30, because you're supposed to give it every 30 days, you go and you kill everything.
Yeah.
So you're killing the hookworms they may have picked up. You're killing the roundworm they may have picked up at the dog park. You're killing the baby heartworms that were deposited in their body because it has a little bit of reach where it's going to kill a couple stages of this heartworm that may already be in the body, and you're just stopping it where they are so that they can't become adults.
Yeah.
So it's not kind of like warding them off like people think. You're like actually saying, okay, you did get some probably this month, but I'm going to go ahead and kill the ones you got so they can't become adults and then don't respond to the prevention. Same thing with fleas and ticks. People forget, like, definitely if you're a really heavy tick area, they have to bite and drink the blood to then die from the prevention that your pet took.
Yeah.
So you are still going to see like a shriveled up tick every once in a while on your dog. But why do we do prevention for people and pets? But we're doing it to, one, kill them, but two, most of the preventions nowadays for fleas and ticks are going to kill them fast enough that they cannot transmit disease.
Right.
So really at the end of the day, we're about disease prevention.
Not necessarily avoiding the bite itself.
Yes. Can't avoid the bite. So
there are some products for ticks that can start to kill on contact. Seresto. And yeah, frontline.
And then some prevention.
Vantix? I don't know.
Some preventions have a Vector D has Vector 3D has a like repelling agent.
Yeah, sort of like putting bug spray on.
Yeah. It's a mosquito repellent basically in the Vector 3D that does work.
I think Advantage Multi or Advantix, one of those two also has that, which, I don't know. I just know how ineffective bug spray is when I put it on. And so I guess I have a hard time going like, that'll do it.
Yeah. It's not the only thing I'm going to hang my hat on.
Nope. No. So yeah, I want the once a month housekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you have 45 days, those larvae are susceptible for 45 days. So no matter where they're at in the cycle, when you give the prevention, you're covering that.
As someone who forgets to give it at day 30, all the time, I lean into the extra 15 days that you technically have.
Right.
But it's too risky to ever lean on that too hard. Plus the flea and tick does run out within 30.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely different drugs as well. So you've got your ivermectin based products. And we were alluding to that a little bit earlier. I'm not a huge fan of them. I mean, we don't get paid anything by anyone to say any of this stuff on this podcast. So I'm not like promoting a product per se, but I don't love the ivermectin products because the efficacy is much lower for some of the more resilient strains of heartworm. There is one called like the junkyard strain. It was a dog that they found in a junkyard and they isolated the strain of heartworms from him. And they were completely resistant to all ivermectin. And that's a really common strain that we see. And then there was like Miss Piggy was another one. I know. I don't know how maybe that dog's name was Miss Piggy. I didn't catch the backstory in there. But anyway, so I tend to lean away from those. Plus, the ivermectin-based heartworm preventions typically do not get whipworms. They only get roundworms and hookworms. And so if we move to like a milbemycin-based
Which
drug,
interceptor,
they also have like, there's other ones. Like Heartgard's one of the more common ivermectins. Interceptor is one of the more common milbemycins, but there's off-brands of all those, which is why the drug name is important. And they have a higher efficacy against their more resilient strains. And then they do get whipworms, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I also cannot remember to give the medicine on time. Like you would think, of all people, I could do it. I just cannot do it. And so I give the injectable. Injectable heartworm prevention that there's a 6-month or 12-month shot. 100% compliance immediately. You don't have to, buying is one thing, right? Remembering to give it to the dog. And then, there was this one lady, a client I had, that moved her couch one day. Had kids come over, this older lady helped her move the couch because she's rearranging the furniture. And she found 14 interceptor pills behind the couch. The dog would take it and run behind the couch and spit it out. And so, so you've removed all these variables. I don't have to remember to give it. I don't have to rely on the dog to eat it. I don't have to worry that the dog went out and puked it up in the backyard whenever he also licked a toad later. And there's just so many variables you remove, but it doesn't cover as many intestinal parasites.
No, yeah.
However, they do, if you have, if your dog's on ProHeart and then you get intestinal parasites, they cover the cost of deworming. So that's nice. So I lean into that one.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the baseline. So we typically have oral preventions, which here we have Interceptor, and then NexGard Plus is going to be our oral preventions that we have at our clinic. And then when it comes to heartworms, and then we have the injectable, which is the ProHeart, the ProHeart 6. NexGard Plus is moxidectin, and so is ProHeart. It's just the way that it's administered.
Yep.
So ProHeart has a way that it is slowly released over that 6 to 12 month period.
The little capsules pop open over time. And whereas the moxidectin orally with the NexGard is that same, clean sweep.
Yeah.
But now the flea and tick products they are a slow release through the blood system. They're sustained, I should say, in the bloodstream for that 30-day window.
Yep.
So.
Hi, Amy.
I do. For those of you listening to the podcast, our people on Facebook are telling us hello.
Yes.
If you ever want to see us on Facebook, at Northside Veterinary Hospital, Shawnee, Oklahoma, Also, if you happen to be in our neck of the woods and you are our client, because that we believe so much in heartworm prevention, our office manager is doing a special for us this year that's 10% off all heartworm prevention purchases for the entire month of April.
Yep.
Single dose, 6-month, 12-month, oral, shot, we don't care.
Yep. Get on to
Just get on to something. It's best to do, to get the box worth so you don't have. Because then, come on. Then you got to remember to not only get the pill, you got to go get the pill.
Every month, yeah.
Every month.
And there's rebates.
It's so much cheaper to buy it. Yeah. If we're
buy it in bulk.
Yeah. Yep. The company rebates on the NexGard Plus are really good. It's expensive, to be honest, but it's because of the flea and tick stuff that is legit.
Yeah. But then the ProHeart is definitely more affordable. And I tell people all the time, I'm I care about flea and ticks a whole lot. They're disease-carrying little vermin. We hate them, and they're gross. But at least do the ProHeart, because the 6-month is very affordable.
Yeah, and then you can. This is what I tell clients: you can see fleas and ticks, so you know if you have a problem or not. But you don't know if you have heartworms until your dog is in heart failure.
Yeah.
Unless you're having them tested every year.
Yeah.
And then it's a really bummer of the news when we have to come in and tell you your dog has heartworms and that's why they're sick. So anyway, prevention is key, but treatment is an option unless you're a kitty cat, and then we just manage your symptoms and try to help you support your system through that process.
And cat heartworm prevention, because you're probably like, well, then how do I prevent that? NexGard combo.
Oh, yeah.
What we have, and that is a monthly heartworm prevention for cats.
It's a topical, and it does fleas, ticks, heartworms, intestinal parasites, and ear mites. So literally every creepy, crawly thing that your cat gets exposed to.
And in Oklahoma, it is so important to have your cats on flea and tick prevention.
Ticks plus cats equals dead cats in Oklahoma. Cytox is deadly.
Which we've done an episode on.
Go back cytozoonosis, bobcat fever.
professor from OSU give a little blurb on that episode. It was really good.
That was fun. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's basically
That's it.
Yeah. If you have any questions, always, let us know. We're here.
We're entering mosquito season.
Entering mosquito season, and ticks are all year round, but they will be worse soon. And so if you need us, we're here to help.
Yep.
Okay, bye.